Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will have to balance reduced revenue against rising and competing expenditure demands when he tables the national budget tomorrow. Economists expect a revenue shortfall of about 57 billion rands as the economy battles weak growth, companies suffer low profitability and unemployment remains at elevated levels. South Africans may have to brace themselves for higher taxes as government seeks to raise an additional 15 billion rands in revenue as announced in the medium-term budget policy statement.
Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will present the budget in a tough economic environment characterized by low growth and an unsupportive global environment. PwC expects the economy to grow at 0.9% this year. Holding back the local economy are structural constraints, which include electricity and the logistics challenges, among others. The high interest rate and elevated inflation environment have compounded matters. Amidst the negativity, government is facing growing spending pressures.
One of the things that the minister tried to emphasize in the midterm budget was the need to hold spending stable because we know that we don't have the revenues. But we know, though, that there are some pressures that are necessary. Activists, for example, have been talking about the basic income grant. That is something that perhaps is going to come, and we expect that it's probably going to come from the grant, that the COVID grant, by actually gradually increasing that. So we're probably going to hear something about that around. That's the major pressure. We also know that that's something that. Then, of course, the support of the SOEs that are so important and that are so disruptive. So those two areas are probably one very big areas of spending that have to be taken care of.
Revenue shortfall is expected to be at about 57 billion rands. The main factors leading to lower revenue collection include reduced corporate profitability, especially the negativity in the mining sector, which has been a good source of revenue for the fiscus. During the medium-term budget policy statement, government announced it is looking at raising about 15 billion rand in tax revenue.
We expect that Treasury has really got a choice between two instruments to raise those sorts of revenues, with personal income tax on the one hand or VAT on the other hand. It's going to be a tricky decision for them to make. Our PRT burden is already at record levels, relatively high by global terms and on a narrow tax base, whereas VAT on the other hand is relatively low by global terms, relatively low tax rates compared to global averages. But VAT is going to be a tricky tax to increase at any time, and even more so in an election year. So they're going to face a difficult decision.
PwC says the implementation of structural reforms in the energy and logistics sectors could help the country turn a corner. The debt to GDP remains a challenge, with debt servicing costs at about 20% of revenue. Gloria Safagomosi, SABC News, Johannesburg.